was great. And Mrs. Boyer, our new member here. Good to see
Are
you.
you sure we're not getting Gary?
Gary's in his normal city council or whatever meeting that he does every Tuesday, this Tuesday of the month.
Yeah.
Dennis, how many members in Glendora now?
There's officially 38 members. We have a satellite club, which makes up 10 or 11 of those. And they're kind of like an auxiliary group, more so than a integral part. So, I think high 20s, mid to high 20s is our real number. And then, of course, with the Zoom, we're figuring all that stuff out. I guess everybody is. Yeah. And that's starting to get some traction now. And we'll see where things go going forward. But about, like I say, high 20s is our normal thing, and then the satellite club of about 10, 11. Good. So we'll get started in just another minute or so, and we'll get rolling. And Pasadena's that's got 20 or 30 members too, right?
We have right about 200.
200. There you go. So Bill Saleebey, this is the one that you want to get in front of right there.
Oh, the Pasadena. Howard wouldn't have me.
Uh-huh.
We'd love to have you. So after this meeting, I'll send a note to our speaker chair how great you were, and they'll be dying to have you.
That's a lot of pressure, actually.
I have confidence in you, Bill.
Okay, thanks, Howard.
No, from what Christine says, she spoke really highly of you, and I'm personally looking forward to it. I'm a financial advisor, so like Howard, he's the competition, riffraff. That's why I had to make that comment.
Dennis, have you read any of Bill's books?
That's right. I have not as of yet, but I probably will be getting one. Knowing
Excellent
me, I'm a reader. And,
good reader, good, fantastic.
But the name of our business is really the networking, getting intertwined with people, building relationships till the end that they trust you with, in many cases, millions of dollars. And, that's what the business about. People, I think really, Howard, you can maybe speak to this also, but I think it's really more about the relationships and trying to help people accomplish what they're trying to do with their money than actually, hey, what is the performance of the money? Or do you agree with that? Or
they have to trust you that you care about them, and you're going to do your best to do the best for them. And then the details are secondary.
Yeah. And I think that's probably true in most businesses, whatever you happen to be in. People, and I see the world kind of moving away from that. So I think your stuff is very timely here, Bill. And I'm sure you'll be able to share all about that here in a little bit. So I figure it's about 5 after now, so we might as well get rolling. So ding the show to order here. Welcome everybody to the award-winning Rotary Club of Glendora, California. We are the service club that makes a difference, and we make a difference in the lives of our members and in the lives of our community members. People in the Glendora Rotary are all about action, and we're all about community service, commerce, and camaraderie, just having fun. We're part of something that's really special, and we love having guests here. It's a privilege for us to share, what we're doing with other people. We're really glad that you joined us. To get started, we generally do the Pledge of Allegiance, and before doing that, I thought I would share a little story with you that will drive home what the Pledge of Allegiance is all about. Most of us are probably aware that the men and women who founded our country, they risked their honor, their lives, their property to establish the United States of America, which was the first country to be governed not by a king not by some warlord or some other elite group, but by the people themselves. And I did an ancestry search a couple of years ago, and it was really interesting what I'd found. What I'd found was I'm not related to Benjamin Franklin, in case any of you were wondering. Joe, I can see that was heavily on your mind, no doubt about it. But what I did find is that I was related to a gentleman by the name of John Flock. And John Flock was in the colonial militia. And at that time, during the Revolutionary War, the British considered those people fighting them not as enemy combatants, like military. They considered them traitors, and they treated them as such. John Flock, my great whatever he was, he ended up fighting in the Battle of Brooklyn Heights. That's when Washington was trying to get from Long Island over to New Jersey, and then afterwards was getting beat up and finally got into Valley Forge. And you know the story, that was the turning point of the war. But John Flock was captured by the British. They threw him into a church basement, and there he died. And I'm not sure the circumstances of his death, but my guess is it wasn't very good, what he went through. And I tell you the story because, again, we start the meeting generally with the Pledge of Allegiance, acknowledging the contributions of those people who went before us to enable us to have what we have in today's time. And it's not because our country is perfect, but it's because of the ideals that our nations aspire to, that liberty and justice for all. So I'd like you to please join me and by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I got a little flag here. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. There we go. Hopefully that puts a little more meaning into the whole thing for us, I think. The other thing we do is we have an invocation, and today the invocation is by our secretary, Christine Smith. And Christine is somebody that I've recently got to work a lot with because she took on this responsibility as a secretary, and it's just been a wonderful blessing to me personally. Somebody who does what they say they're going to do and follows through and does it well and really has a heart to serve. In other words, she walks the walk. And with that, Christine, if I can turn it over to you.
Sure. If we would all be quiet for a second. We are thankful for this day that you have given to us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, and for each day's duties, and for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Amen. There you go. Well, we also acknowledge our visitors and guests, and I know we were batting things around just before we got started today, but we got Lois Shade. Lois from Glendora. Thank you for being here, Lois.
Thanks.
You want to give a little wave there? There you go. We have Howard Raff from Pasadena. So
Great to be here.
Yep. We have Neil. I see your picture. I guess you can't wave, but Neil's a friend of Bill Saleebey. So welcome, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And for those of you who haven't been one of our guests before or haven't been to a Rotary meeting, during our weekly meetings and our social events, our service projects, whatever it is, what we want to have fun, and we make an intentional effort to get people tapped into our community, into our into each other's lives here as Rotarians. And what we do is we share resources and we interact with the local businesses, with the local government, with local charitable institutions. And when we do that, people benefit, both our members and the people that we serve. And that's what Rotary is about. So again, we thank you for being here, checking out what we're doing. I think it'll be an exciting program today. Want to have a few announcements before we get going. The announcements, again, we've been working off the Field of Heroes donations. The Glendora Police Department, LA County Fire Department, Veterans Center, APU, we've cut checks to those. I bought one of those big checks. I meant to bring it over. I forgot to bring it in from the garage to show you, but it's one of those giant checks that you can write out. So the plan is to have Mr. Beckwith, who headed up the fundraising events for the Field of Heroes. And for you guys that haven't been part of that, that's a big flag display we did downtown at the City Hall. So we raised money by selling flags and sponsorships, but we did fairly well with that. So I'd like to have Dennis take some pictures, and then we'll send out the press releases. But through that, for you guys that weren't on previous call, we got a match from the Champion Family Foundation for $10,000 with that. Also, along that same line, Wells Fargo Foundation has matched some goods for $2,000. Craig and I, on a separate note, have put in for the district grants for $2,802 coming in. So we got a few dollars rolling into the charitable accounts so that we can do more things in the community and serve more people. That's what Rotary is all about. Coming up, we have a few things. September 15th, which is next Tuesday. Tuesdays, we on the third Tuesday of the month, we don't do a regular meeting. We have a social, and the social this week is going to be the demotion recognition. So we finally got rid of Dennis Beckwith. That was a joke, so you know. All right, so but Dennis Beckwith's year, there he is. He's smiling. We got him back on the thing. Dennis did a great job through one of the craziest years ever. And just to recognize him and his team of board of directors and other people who've worked so hard to make that year a success, we do a demotion and again, recognition service. And with that, it's a little different this year because of the whole COVID thing. So what we're going to do is we've slimmed it down. In my backyard, we're going to invite last year's board and this year's board. We're going to have a meal, a little social thing, but it'll be a socially distant thing where we'll have, 5 or 6 tables. People will be spread out. There'll be a handful of us there, and then we'll Zoom the meeting to the rest of the people. In light of how many people we can have in one place, I think that's the best that we can do. But we want to make sure that we do give honor to those whom honor is due, and certainly Dennis and his board are worthy of that. So that's how we're going to do it, and that'll be next Tuesday. And the show starts for the Zoomers at 7:10. I'll open up the gate literally at 6:30 for people to come in if you want to hang in, but please bring your masks. And again, please, no hugs, no kisses. We can do that at some time in the future, okay? So it's a little safer. On September 21st, we have District Governor Greg Jones is going to be visiting our club. Greg is a fantastic speaker, really close friend of mine. You're going to love Greg. That's September 21st for our club meeting. The September 23rd, we have the Battle of the Books that's going to be coming here. That's a thing that we support. Janet, you got anything you want to say? I see you all of a sudden got all animated there at the Battle of the Books. What do we got happening there, Janet? You're still muted. You're muted. You're muted.
I tried to click, didn't succeed. Howdy, everybody. Yes, that's a reimagining of one of the most fun events that the library does. Sort of a riff on the Great Trivia Challenge, but based on 3 young adult novels and teams of teens. It's wonderful. So it's all being done by Zoom this time. and or some electronic platform. I believe they're going to use Zoom. And next week, the prelims start. And then the finals are going to be on September 23rd. And it's done sort of like brackets this year for the first time, kind of like a, like a football playoff. So it should be a great time. And believe me, you do not have to have read these books to have a great time watching these kids answer these questions. They are wonderful. They have such a great time. They're so well prepared. It's really a fabulous event. So more about it on our website, GlendoraLibrary.org.
That's a great deal. And then I know that, it's again, a small fundraiser. So great thing to be involved with and great thing for Rotary to support. So thank you, Janet and Public Library, for all the things that you guys do in the community. So we got September 15th is the demotion, Greg Jones on the 21st, Battle of the Books on the 23rd. On the 28th, we have Tim Greenleaf, who is the president and chairman of the board of the LA area Boy Scouts of America, going to be speaking for our weekly meeting. October 6th, we have Dr. Robert Zellum, who is an exoastronomer. I don't know what that is either, guys.
Dennis,
Yeah.
this is Sheila. I think you might have the date wrong for Greg Jones's meeting with us. If he's meeting on a traditional Tuesday, it's the 22nd.
Oh, okay.
September
Thank
22nd.
you.
Okay.
Yep, you're right.
But that's
Thank
right.
you.
It's a Tuesday, right? Okay.
Yes, that is
And
correct.
Greenleaf's on the 29th, Dennis.
All right, I'm a day off here. See, I'm just ahead of everybody is the problem here.
That's not the way I look at it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But each the Tuesday meetings on all this. And then on the 13th, we have the trustee of the Pasadena Community College. So we got a lot of great stuff coming up. I'm really excited about. Speaking of great stuff, we also in Rotary, we try to stay connected and share each other's lives. Birthdays, anniversaries, that sort of thing. Well, we have a couple of birthdays and anniversaries. Dan Madak was just on the 3rd. Maria Ciprios is on the 12th. Gary Boyer is on the 13th. So you may want to send each one of those happy birthday, a text, or give them a call. The question too, is anybody on the screen have a birthday or anniversary this month? Nobody, huh? I was all ready for an anniversary. I figured, it was so hot out. I had this whole salsa music anniversary thing ready to go. But we missed it here, guys. We'll have to check that out. Wait a minute, Beckwith. What do you got?
Well, I got a grandson that's probably going to be born tonight. We think they're going to be inducing her. So
Wait a minute. He's what?
A grandson going to be born probably tonight. We hope.
Wow, that's great.
In process.
Yeah, you talk about a happy birthday. That's a real birthday. Good for him.
Indeed. Thank you.
Any other announcements or any other thing that we need to talk over or share with the group? Going once, going twice. All right, well, with that then, I guess we'll introduce our program. One of the benefits for Rotary is we have an opportunity to meet some really interesting, fascinating people, and get tapped into the community. Getting connected, as we were talking about before we started, is really such a valuable thing in life. I think people so many times undersell how much it means to know people and the value and the things that they bring to our lives when they share with you. Christine Smith went to Pasadena High School. Is that correct, Christine? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And she kept in touch with a lot of people over the years. And one of the people that she went to school with was a fellow by the name of Bill Saleebey. Bill, you want to give us a little wave there? So Bill happens to be an author, and I guess you have a new book coming out also. You'll have to tell us about thing, but he does speaking tours all over the country. And what he does, he's recognized as one of the foremost experts on the psychological dimensions of business networking. In other words, what does it really bring to the table? And he's going to be sharing how we can successfully adapt to the current environment in order to benefit ourselves, our businesses, our organizations that we work with. And networking isn't just for business owners, it's also for people in every walk of life. So I'm excited to hear what he's got to say. So Bill, the floors are all yours. This Dr. Bill Saleebey.
Thank you, Dennis. It is a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much. I want to thank Christine. Christine, I didn't really know her in high school. Part of that was Pasadena High School was a massive school. Our graduating class was around 1,400, something like that. We graduated in the Rose Bowl, and I'm proud of telling people that I actually played high school football in the Rose Bowl. So my history with Rotary goes way back because my dad was a Rotarian. He was in the Altadena Rotary Club. My dad owned a store called Saleebey's, and I don't know if you can see that picture, but that was my dad's store. And Howard, that's very close to where you live. It's down at the corner of Washington and Allen. And my dad was in Altadena Rotary Club. So as I was growing up in the den of my dad's den, you know, dad has to have a den. There was a poster of the four-way test, which I looked at 1,000 times. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So that all made sense to me. I said, that's really, those are some good words to live by. And, you know, Dad would say, I said, well, you know, this was before networking, anybody ever used the term networking. And I said, well, Dad, why are you in Rotary? You know, why do you do this? And he said, well, several reasons. One, it's a service club, and the motto of the club is service above self. That sounded good to me also. And also he would describe it as the fellowship. And our family always went to the holiday party where you could actually invite the members of the family. And my mom was a proud Rotarian. And that was, of course, before they allowed women to be in Rotary. So this was back in the 50s. So my history with Rotary goes back far and continues to this day. My girlfriend, my partner, is a member of Ventura Rotary. And so she has her Rotary meetings every Wednesday at this time. Now they're on Zoom. And their club recently did, I think, something like what Dennis was describing, an outdoor socially distanced event. Why do we do this? Well, we need to see people. We need to connect with people. This is okay. But not everybody said, this isn't quite the same. It's not quite the same as sitting in a room, having lunch, shaking hands, hugging, doing all that kind of thing. So they were able to have a socially distanced event up here in Ventura, and it went very, very well. And they did it at a step down dinner. So it was the exchange of you all know what that is, where a new person takes over the presidency of the club. So Rotary is not new to me. It's been around. It's been around in my life forever, and it is, as you all know, I'm preaching to the choir here, a fantastic organization, and I'm happy to be here. So I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts about how the pandemic has affected business and personal networking. That's kind of something I evolved into kind of by accident. It wasn't anything I was educated to do, but it was something I did from experience, and then became an expert in it, and have written 2 books on networking, and I'm in the process of finishing up my most current work, which is networking in the age of virtual communication, and that will be coming out in October. So what happened here? Why are we looking at a screen? Well, you all know. It was around March 11th when Governor Newsom said, you guys all have to stay at home. And it was new to all of us. We didn't know what it was. We didn't we didn't know how long it was going to last. We had no idea what an impact it would have on our lives. Such an impact that, in my opinion, no event has had a more significant long-term effect on Americans and people around the world than COVID. What did we do? Well, we had our first initial reaction, and everybody was a little bit different. Either, what is this? I heard about this. We got to stay home. Okay, I guess I'll do that. So our first reaction different from person to person. And some people never really adapted, and others said, well, this is here. Let's pivot. Let's go. Let's see what we're going to do. Now, I know in the networking groups I'm in, all of the networking groups immediately pivoted to Zoom. I had been on, I think, one Zoom call before that. And because I lead networking groups, the first Zoom meeting I was in, which was in mid-March, I led the meeting. So I not only was a participant in Zoom meetings, specifically networking meetings, but I led the group. So what did we do? We pivoted, we adjusted, hopefully, and the people that are here, I'm going on a limb here, have adjusted a little bit more fervently than maybe the people who aren't here. And, they're not here. We don't know why they're not here. I don't know what your normal attendance is, but I think it's probably more than 15. We adapted, hopefully. We learned about how to use Zoom. And the people that were more technologically savvy learned a lot of the aspects of how to use this technology. It's not the only one, but it's the most common one that's being used. And my guess is that Dennis and Howard have had something to tell their clients about whether or not to buy that stock Zoom, or whether it's too late, but that's another issue. But hopefully we stayed positive about it. Now, when I talk to people in different walks of life, whether they be in a networking group, a business, a book club, Rotary, some of them will say, some of them accept the way things are just because this is the way they are. And we don't have the alternative. We can't say, well, I'd rather be going to an in-person meeting. You don't have that option right now. So my suggestion is for those people who haven't, and again, I'm preaching to the choir here, maybe you can pass that information along to some people who haven't, that Zoom is not so bad and that it's better than nothing. And one of the questions that I had as this whole thing was unfolding is, can we still connect? And even though in other words, if we can't meet in person, can we still make a connection with people? And the answer is yes, we can. It's a different kind of connection. And, but nonetheless, we can connect, especially in smaller groups. And what has happened, what I've seen evolving, is people have begun to use Zoom in lieu of having a phone conversation. To say, well, if I've known Howard for many, many years, but if Howard and I wanted to talk about something today, that would be an option. We'd say, should we do a Zoom call or should we just talk on the phone? And to me, there's an advantage of a Zoom call where you can see the other person, you can see their expressions and so forth. It's something we thought about back in the 50s. Is this ever going to be possible to have a phone conversation where you can see the person? Well, it's way beyond possible. So that's so part of my whole involvement in the process is being an observer of what's going on. So part of what I was doing was saying, I'm looking at all these people, all of these groups, in how they're adjusting to social distancing, and some more so, some less than others. So I want to talk a little bit about Zoom technology and Zoom etiquette. And for some of you, this may be, oh, I already knew all that. For some of you is, oh, I'm really glad to know that. As far as the basic technology, you have figured it out because you hit a link and all of a sudden you're on this, and if you raised your speaking level, you can be heard. And if you unmute yourself, you can be heard. But that's one of the first things. And I joked with Dennis when he first got on the call, because his name was not correct. So he had to change his name. That's the first thing you'd want to do. Basic is make sure the name that is on your underneath or related to you is the name you want to be called. So if it was somebody else's computer, then you change it to fit you. So that's number one. Another couple of things to just be as savvy as you can be on Zoom is to have good lighting so you can be seen. And of the people I'm looking at now, I could say that Howard has very, very good lighting. I think Lois, you look like you probably could use a little bit more light facing you if that's possible. And Jean may be a little bit more light, but you're pretty good. So you got lighting should be good. Another thing that's impactful is the background you have. Shouldn't be cluttered. It should be how you want to represent yourself. So whatever the background is should be something that should represent you positively, and that you are centered in the screen. So that we don't want to be looking up at your chin. We don't want to be looking up at the top of your head. We want you to be centered so that you can be seen very well. So those are some of the basic functionality parts of Zoom. The other thing that struck me as one who leads groups is, and it's both a positive and a negative aspect of Zoom technology, is the chatting and the amount of potential multitasking that goes on. And it's almost as if Zoom encourages us to be doing more than one thing. That we do chat, we do raise our hand, we can be doing all kinds of things. But I think every group, and whether it be, if you're going to be the next president of Rotary, every leader of a group should have guidelines of what they consider to be the etiquette, the appropriate etiquette. We're not all going to agree. For example, the notion of, I think it was whoever was eating their lunch and they put their picture on when they were eating their lunch. Very polite thing to do. Appropriate. If you're eating and you don't want to see people eat, then you can go down to the icon at the bottom, the second one, stop video. And you can either have your name pop up, or you can put a picture there so they see that. At a more fundamental level, you should all know that icon at the bottom on the left, mute and unmute. And if you're going to be called on, and you think you're going to be called on within a minute, you should have your cursor somewhere near there so you can unmute yourself in a timely manner. Very important. The other thing, the other one that's important is chat. And you can chat as much or as little as possible, but you got to be careful. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that I wanted to chat to Christine, and I wanted to tell Christine, this guy Dennis Franklin is kind of a jerk. And I think I'm chatting to Christine, but I'm actually chatting to everyone. And Dennis then says, gee, Bill, I noticed that you chatted to everyone, that you think I'm a jerk. Well, you got to be careful of that. You got to be careful. So when you're chatting to an individual, it should theoretically, in the best of all circumstances, go just to that individual. But if you want to chat to everyone, then you do it that way. But you got to make sure that that's something you want everyone to hear. People have debated that, people say, if you ask somebody, would you rather your Rotary meetings were back in person, or are you fine the way it is? Most people would say, I want them back in person. I want to be able to shake hands, look somebody in the eye, have little conversations with them. I want to do that thing. But until I can do that, I'm on this format. What are some advantages that Zoom has? To me, the biggest plus, well, two. The biggest plus as far as functionality are the breakout rooms. I think the breakout rooms are fantastic. I think they are, if you know how to work them right, I think they're superior to breaking people up in a group. Let's say you're in a real meeting and Dennis wants to break us up into groups of 5 in wherever you guys have your meetings. Much more difficult to do than it is in a breakout room. So the breakout rooms are really good if you want to have people have smaller discussions. So that's an advantage. The other thing you can do, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, is if you want to have a conversation, you said, this woman, Sheila Gutierrez, looks really interesting. I'd like to have a conversation with her and I don't know her. So I could send her a text and say, Sheila, would you be open to have a conversation? Your business seems really interesting to me. So that's another example. Now, because my topic is virtual networking, I'll use Christine as an example. Now, Christine, as I mentioned, went to high school together, but full disclosure, we didn't know each other at high school. Why do we know each other? How do we know each other? Very simple, Facebook. A virtual form of social media, which has allowed people to get to know people they didn't know, to communicate with people. And at one point, Christine said, do you want to speak at Glendora Rotary? And I said, sure. Now, I'm being completely honest here. If it were 105 degrees and 90 miles in the middle of the day, I might have said, let me think about it. It's a long way to go, and I'm not sure. But this is easy. So the other big advantage, in addition to the breakout rooms, is the convenience of Zoom. And for some people, they go, gee, even though I would rather meet in person, I would also rather not drive. I would also rather not drive in traffic. So there's clear advantages to Zoom over meeting in person. But we're gonna go back there eventually. I just want to say one thing. Again, maybe I'm preaching to the choir here, but and most of you look like you're not new to Rotary, but anybody new to Rotary, my advice to you would be get involved and do the work. And my guess is, and maybe I'm just going out on a limb here, my guess is that Glendora Rotary is similar to most organizations where the 80-20 rule applies, which is simply that 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And you're probably going to see some of the same people on all of the projects. And I don't know of any way around that. But what I would say to anybody that says, well, I really do want to get involved, and especially to anybody that's kind of new to Rotary, I would say, do get involved. But I have one main bit of advice to you. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. I'll repeat that. It's pretty simple. Do what you say you are going to do when you say you're going to do it. Getting involved in a service organization like Rotary, or specifically Rotary, does give you that opportunity to do work. That's a work sample. If somebody said, gee, I'm looking for a financial advisor, and I don't know this guy, Dennis, but we were on this project together, and just by the way he worked, by his work ethic, by his involvement, by his dedication, I don't have a financial advisor. That would be a guy that I would be interested in talking to. He proved himself by the work he did. And in the organizations I'm in, the same is true. The people that, when there is a project, one, they raise their hand and say, I want to be involved. And two, they do the work they say they're going to do. Simple, but important. And the other thing, I know Dennis alluded to it earlier, is the whole idea of giving, the whole idea of getting involved is central to Rotary and to what Rotary stands for. I want to talk, and I know you originally said 20 minutes, and I know, but I started earlier, but I can talk a little bit more. How are we doing with time, Dennis? I can't hear you.
He's muted.
He needs another lesson, Christine.
I tell you what, what I said was we got about 5 more minutes, and then we can open up for questions.
Oh, okay, 5 more minutes. Okay, a couple of other things that I find really interesting, and I hope you do too. And that is the whole concept of channels of communication. In the old days, we really were limited. In old days, we'll say the 50s, we were limited to phone and letter writing and meeting in person. Now we have a multitude of options of the channel on which we can communicate with people. You've got meeting in person, you've got phone, you've got email, you've got text, you've got social media, you've got Zoom, you've got all kinds of potential ways that we can communicate. And especially when you bring in the different generations. And with some generations, they're very clear on how they want to communicate. For example, some of the millennials and younger generations, texting is the preferred mode of communication for everything. Even things that I would say, can you send me an email? That's kind of a little bit much for me, a baby boomer to, I know how to text, I do text, but this is more complicated. Please email it to me. Or if I'm on a phone conversation with someone, I may ask them to send it in another channel. Or if I get an email via LinkedIn, somebody sends me a LinkedIn email, I will eventually want to move that to another channel. So in other words, if I'm connected to, let's say I'm connected to Howard only on LinkedIn, and Howard, I saw Howard at a meeting this morning, he said, I'd like to hear your presentation. He may have changed his mind by now. If he says, I want to hear your presentation, I say, well, I need your email so I can send you the link for the Glendora meeting. So the point is, we have all these channels of communication, and the key is to communicate with people on their preferred channel, not necessarily your preferred channel. So especially a potential client or something like that. You want to make sure that when you send them something, whether it be a phone message or a text or whatever it is, that they are on that channel. For example, not everybody by far is on Facebook. So you say, well, I'll just send that person a Facebook message. And you go, well, I haven't heard from them for a long time. Why not? Well, they never go to Facebook, so they're not looking at it. Or it could be the same, could be true of their email. Well, I don't use my work email, send it to my other email. Or you leave a message on their home phone when they never use their home phone. So they're just using their cell phone. So these are some of those kinds of issues. And then I'll kind of, I'll leave you with my observation and prediction that this social distancing is not going away soon, not going away in the next month, 2 months, 3 months. Could be something that's with us quite a while. So my suggestion is, again, preaching to the choir, people here already have pivoted and adapted, but members of your club that for some reason are reluctant, hopefully you can find some way to help them, train them, show them that Zoom is not so bad and that they can have a meaningful Rotary meeting without meeting in person. There's a lot of differences. I've hit on some of them, but I just wanted to try and get that point across to you. It's ultimately all about building relationships and giving. My definition of networking is developing mutually beneficial relationships over time. And I would say that the 4-way test applies. Hopefully it's the truth, it's fair, it builds goodwill and better friendships, and it is beneficial to all. And I'll open it up to questions.
Great. So does anybody have some questions for Bill? I had a couple of thoughts in too, but throw it out to the floor first. Christine, it looks like you got something.
Oh, I think Jean just posted a question.
Okay, yeah. Jean, question. We sent out hundreds of invitations and received very few replies or folks attending. It is very frustrating. What can, if anything, be done to get the community excited? Oh, to join?
Or
okay.
attend, yeah.
To attend, well, yeah, you got to, I think, I would approach that mainly, you got to get them to attend something. And if you get them to attend something, it's got to be good. Simple as that. In other words, the first part of that question is, how do you get them to just attend one meeting? And if you do get them to attend that meeting, you got to work on making sure that meeting is as good as it possibly is. Many people I speak with will just not do Zoom. Tips on changing their mind. I think part of the answer is it'll happen organically. I think they're going to see that in order to talk to their family, in order to talk to their friends, in order to do some of the things they really want to do, that they'll have to stop being so damn stubborn and give it a try. But I think training is also important, that you get somebody, if Uncle Bob and Aunt Susan don't want to do it, then maybe your cousins, their kids, can give them a little training on how to do it. So I think you can't force them, but I think, again, if you can bring them to the meetings, to get them to join is a whole different thing, because then they gotta have a good time. You hit on it earlier, Dennis. It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of my thoughts. Howard, you got your hand up.
Bill, if someone wanted to acquire your new book when it's available, how would they do that?
Well, I would say the easiest way is going to be Amazon. There's going to be the hard copy, and then there's going to be an audiobook.
And what's
So
the title?
What's that?
Title?
Yeah, the title, Networking in the Virtual Age. Networking in the Virtual Age. We've changed it a little bit, but that's the current one, Networking in the Virtual Age. You know my name, so you look, and it should be out, I'm thinking sometime like in October.
And as someone who has read your other two books, I would recommend it in advance.
Thank you, Howard. And we hope you read this one also.
That's great. Yeah, Bill, as you were talking, one of the things that I'm doing, I recently signed a partnership agreement in my my business. So what I'm now in the process of doing is introducing all of my clients to my new partner so that they know who he is, and again, start to build that relationship with them. So last Wednesday, we did our first Zoom meeting. I invited about 30 people. I had about, I think, 8 or 9 that actually showed up, to Gene's point. But one of the things that I did was I called them, I called several of them, and I had to explain how Zoom worked, because a lot of my clients are older, and show them the benefits, and said, hey, if you know how to do this, you can talk to your grandkids, and you can go on with your doctor, and and the world is moving that way. I will go online with you and show you how to do it. And I had a handful of people that did just that. But it was a training. I think that was a real key to making that meeting successful. And I think that we could do a better job with the Rotary Club on just that, is the people, like you said, you're preaching to the choir here, but the people who really could use a lot of what you shared are the people that we can bring in. And I think that the way to do that is one-on-one, and show them, again, to Gene's question, show them the benefit. Why, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to be in Rotary? Show them the benefit. That's what relationship, I love what you said about building relationships being mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
Who else is good?
I have a question.
Yes.
About I noticed that as soon as the pandemic, came into being, we saw a lot less advertising and direct mailing. Now it seems to be starting to come back. I'm seeing more of that. What would you say would be the pros and cons of direct mail as opposed to using social media and posting your advertising or your coupons or your specials on social media platforms, or pro and con to or both? What is your feeling on that?
What is Christine, what kind of business? The answer really in a way depends on what kind of business.
Okay, restaurants, like my neighbor has a small garage, and he's really seen his business fall off, and his business is mostly word of mouth. He doesn't do any real advertising I would consider advertising, and I see him struggling. A neighbor on the other side does insurance, and I see that having really fallen off too, because she can't go to people's houses and sell them life insurance. So what are you seeing needing to be happening in the future with this new platform?
I think social media, I tend to lean more towards social media because I think that's where people are, where you can probably have more of a direct connection with people. I think direct mail definitely has a function for, brick and mortar businesses for sure. People are still looking for that food coupon and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I think I would do both, although I'm not sure that direct mail is as nearly as valuable as it used to be, and I don't know what the costs are. You also want to look at the relative costs. But I should have began by saying it's not really my area of expertise. That's just my guess. I couldn't say that. Oh, I know the answer to that. It's more. I'm guessing on that one because that's not really my area of expertise to know you should do this versus that.
Okay, that's fair.
Any other questions? Well, I thank you all. It's been a pleasure. It's always good to hang out with Rotarians, and I wish your club the best. And Christine and Dennis and the entire club, thank you very much for putting your trust in me, and I hope it's enjoyable.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Great job. Appreciate it. I look
see you.
forward to checking out the book that